Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Unsung Heroes, the show where we encourage every musician to tell their story. Today's guest is someone familiar to many people on the British blues scene for many years, arguably one of the hardest working men in show business that was once given to the great James Brown. Would arguably fit this man as well. Robin Bibi, how the devil are you?
Hello, I'm all right. Show business or no business.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, Robin, you sent me an amazing bio with so much information and a full, varied career, can I say? And also a very extensive list of songs that you love too.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, what I'm going to do is Robin's playlist I've put together on Spotify, and I shall put the information in the description once the video goes up on YouTube, so you can all listen to Robin's wonderful choices and kind of catalogue the last 60 to 65 years of the development of music, and it's all good stuff, let me tell you. Now, I noticed you said you started out talking of that playlist, you started with Wonderful Land by the Shads.
So happy.
How did it come about that you wanted to play the guitar? What inspired you from that early age to think, oh, that's what I want to do?
It was the sound of Hank's Strat, basically.
Yeah.
It was that beautiful sound. I was just overwhelmed by that sound, you know. I heard Wonderful Land, and then I heard a couple of the other Shads things, and there was, when I was about 6 years old, my next door neighbour's son, who was 14, he was in a band. He was a drummer.
Yeah.
And the band used to come and rehearse at his house, and they played all the Shadows songs. Not songs, of course, tunes. So we'd be sitting, we could hear it coming through, you know, and I was like, wow, we've got the Shadows next door. And it was me and my little sister, she was about 2. We used to dance around in the back garden listening to all this music, and it was like, whoa, this is fantastic. It was just the sound of that beautiful, echoey, slightly mysterious sound.
It was quite a unique. He was quite a unique. I was lucky enough to meet him once. He's a very lovely man, and Bruce Welsh too.
Yeah,
on various gigs.
Yes,
but I know what you mean. That as with great voices, it's rare with guitar players so much, but you knew exactly who it was straight away. You know.
Yeah.
And is that something that you would say you've striven for yourself? An identity?
Do you know, I don't really know, Paul, but I think it seems to have happened somehow. I guess so, yeah. I mean, I guess I just enjoy playing the guitar, and whatever happens kind of just happens.
Sure.
I mean, after I'd been playing, when I got to be 17 or 18, I started jamming a lot, you know. I started hanging out with that's when I started hanging out with people who really, really liked the blues. They turned me onto the blues. Some of my new bunch of mates that I had.
Yeah.
And when we were doing that, we used to jam quite a lot. I mean, I was also into American West Coast music, bands like the Grateful Dead and that sort of slightly free sort of approach to playing.
Yeah.
So we used to sit around just jamming, you know, and when you do that, I think you sort of develop your way of doing it.
Of course.
And from doing that sort of thing, you develop your own style. Even if you don't realise it's happening, it sort of does happen, you know.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah.
With all sorts of instruments. I mentioned this to Tim in one of my previous interviews, how you take your influences, you don't hide them.
No.
But what you take from them makes who you are. You put them through the blender and it comes out as you know.
I mean, I'm pretty proud of my influences. I'm proud of all my influences because they're all musicians I would aspire to be like them.
Well, of course,
I really would,
absolutely.
you know? And that's what inspired me to get going in the first place.
Yeah.
And it was like, when you say Hank's guitar spoke to me. It just made me feel so lovely listening to it. It was great, you know.
Well, he did, no doubt, inspire legendary figures ever since. You know, Martin Knopfler's a prime example.
Hundreds of guitar players.
Thousands of
you know, thousands of people. Yeah.
So your early days, you've learned to play the guitar. You've got into your Shadows. You've joined your first bands when you were 17, 18, as you mentioned.
Yes.
And then you got a record deal in 1981. How did that come about?
Well, yeah, okay. So the record deal, I mean, I was playing with John Dummer and Helen April. I think that's maybe what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We got signed to A&M. Oh no, actually, before that, I used to do a lot of session work, and I did get signed, not signed, but I was in a band with a singer called Charlie Ainley, who was signed to EMI. So we did an album for EMI at the Townhouse in Shepherd's Bush.
Right.
And unfortunately, EMI ran out of money, and we were on the peripheral, so they dropped us.
Yeah.
After we'd done an album, the album was really, really good. You know? But it wasn't my own music. I was just playing guitar. But it was one of those things where everybody contributed their own ideas to the band, and it was really good. It was a very good band. I'm still in touch with a couple of the people from the band now. Yeah. And then I joined up with John Dummer from Darts and his wife Helen April.
Yeah.
And Darts, he'd left Darts, and they were starting a project, and they got hold of me. I can't remember how they got hold of me, but they got hold of me. And we recorded a record called Own Up If You're Over 25, which was quite funny at that time because, funny enough, I was 25 at that time. And it was a great song written by a guy called Noel Brown, who's sadly not with us anymore, but who was a fabulous songwriter. And so we recorded this, and John Dummer, from his connections, his previous connections with Darts and stuff, knew a lot of people at BBC Radio 1. So instantly it got on daytime airplay. It got on daytime. Yeah, we got plenty of daytime airplay.
The classic case of who you know.
Yeah, and then we got signed to A&M. We got a band called True Life Confessions. It was a lot of it was Helen's. I wrote a lot of songs with Helen. Helen wrote the lyrics. I wrote the music. So Helen and me did quite a lot of songwriting. We never made an album, but we made several singles and an EP. And everything was. We were signed to A&M Records, and one thing led to another. Unfortunately, the stage act was a bit crazy, and it led to us getting barred from a lot of the gigs around London. Wouldn't have us because we were messy.
I've done a bit of research on this. It's a good point you bring up. I wanted to bring this up with you because I did, before I came out today, I did a bit of research on this. And there's one particular song, let me tell you now.
Oh, Paul, tell me, go on.
Well, let's put it like this. There's pictures of Robin from when he was young, and a handsome young man he was too, still is. But
lovely man.
And
he says all the right things.
I'm assuming the girl singing is Helen because it's just still pictures with the music in the video. And the song's called I'll Be Your Sex Slave.
Oh yeah, I Will Be Your Sex Slave. That's Helen. That was Helen.
Yeah.
She wasn't really a singer. She was sort of like a South London rapper. But she spoke nice. She spoke the Queen's English, so she spoke nicely. She wasn't like I'm being sorry. This is very bad. I'm not being very politically correct here, but anyway. But she had good diction. Let's put it that way. And but she didn't sing. She used to say the words, and she wrote the words, and we put the music to it.
Brilliant.
And that was Sex Slave. Helen and me.
I have to say that was a surprise for me, but it kind of gave me an idea that there was a lot more to you than what most people would have probably imagined knowing you in your own right over the last 30 years. That was an area of music that a lot of people wouldn't have been associated with you, which proves to me that you have this broad base of influence and can turn your hand to most things, which of course excuse me, was evident in your years working in covers bands and things of that nature, where you learnt your craft, and being able to remember so many songs. That's a very important part of it.
I did make a living as a pro guitarist before the Robin Bibi band got going. I mean, I was just play sessions and covers and all sorts of things. I played in people's bands,
a working musician,
and I did what I had to do.
Absolutely.
So
that band toured. I believe you toured in Europe with that band. Or
I don't think True Life Confessions did. I can't remember. It's such a long time ago. We were up and down the country, but unfortunately we didn't. Mainly, we just played in London actually.
Okay.
So Europe. What happened actually just before I started working with True Life Confessions, I was working with a German singer-songwriter called Maxim Rad. And he was signed to a French record label. So we were all over Europe doing that. Now that was a great band.
Yeah.
And that was proper. I say proper music. Not that True Life Confessions wasn't, but True Life Confessions had a sort of it was kind of about an act. It was theatrical. It was kind of theatrical with the music in it.
Sure.
Whereas Max's thing was purely music. He was a really, really excellent songwriter. He had a lot of different influences, sort of very contemporary influences, and so I joined his band, and we gelled. I mean, he wrote the songs, but I put some guitar in, which kind of it changed the sound of the band. What I did with him, the chemistry we had between us did definitely change the sound of the band. But again, you know, we went all over France, and we did some gigs in Germany as well. We supported the Stranglers. We supported a band called Mink DeVille doing a whole big tour, big tour around France.
Spanish Stroll.
Yes,
yeah,
great fun. I mean, they were nice guys.
Yeah,
They were nice, you know.
Yeah.
And we were going to do a gig. We were going to support the Police, but sadly, it was only a one-off gig. Sadly, the day of the gig, Sting woke up with no voice, so we had to pull. So that didn't happen. But it was a great time, touring Europe. And when I came home, that's when John Dummer and Helen April contacted me, and we didn't do much of work abroad with that. Probably because that had a certain kind of Englishness.
Of course.
I don't think the Europeans might have quite. Yeah, it was very quirky, and you know, you either loved us or you hated us.
Sure. Yeah. But there's always been room for that, though.
Yes.
Yeah, as you know, there's always been room for that, and it's done very well at times. You know. Just a little footnote and a slight tangent here. You mentioned John Dummer from Darts. And
the John Dummer Blues Band.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting that, because I met John briefly, because at the end of 1980, I auditioned for Darts as one of the singers. There was almost three singers. The tenor had left, and Bob Fish, I think his name was.
Bob Fish. We worked with Bob Fish.
Yeah. He left, and they were looking for another singer, and I cut a long story short, I got shortlisted out of 3.
Right.
And I believe, I might be wrong on this, that the other 2 were the guy that got the gig, and Lee John from Imagination.
Oh, yeah.
And my good self. Now, there's a funny story there, because the singer that got the gig was the writing partner of the guitar player, who at the time was Rob Davis, who was the guitar player from Mud.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Who went on to write that massive hit for Kylie,
with Kylie,
Can't Get You Out of My Head. Okay. And surprisingly enough, his songwriting partner got the gig, which, you know, tells you everything. Made sense. They knew him. You know, that's fine.
Yeah.
I ended up working with Rob 3 years later doing sessions for him. So it's a funny how these things
goes around,
each other.
Goes around,
absolutely,
doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. We've established your credentials. We've established you've had some variety of background. Did some great work with all these various different types of people. You decide 1996 was the time I went out on my own. Now, from your list of songs that you sent me, there's some pivotal tunes later on coinciding with that British blues boom, and some original blues stars, Johnny Hooker and Bibi King, to name but 2, and Peter Green, Jeff Beck, and various other people. When you started the Robin Bibi band, was it always going to be a blues band, or did you have other ideas in mind?
It was going to be bluesy. It was going to be blues first,
right?
And then I didn't really have to. I just wanted to sort of do what I'd always wanted to do, which was play the blues, because in my own way. I mean, okay, I've got a big rock influence as well,
of course,
but I wanted to play the blues in my own way. Because that was the blues has got the simplicity, and it's what I wanted to do, really. So I thought, right, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And also, funnily enough, I mean, I discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan at that time as well, early 90s. I didn't discover him until he died. Well, I did discover. No, that's not true. I discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan when I actually thought he was Albert King. When I heard "Let's Dance" by David Bowie, there was a guitar solo. I thought, wow. Bowie's managed to get Albert King to do that.
Brilliant.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a great comparison, actually.
Yes.
You know, and Albert King's cropped up a few times, actually, in these interviews.
Yeah.
And the thing about Stevie Ray Vaughan was another interesting story, as you know, Bowie did that big Serious Moonlight tour.
Yes. And
he kicked Stevie Ray Vaughan off the tour because he was going down too well.
Yes.
Hardly surprising, because the guy was dynamite.
Yes.
And,
I mean, funnily enough, you see, because my other job, you know, since the 80s, well, since the middle to late 80s, I've been teaching guitar, you see. And I encourage people who come to me for lessons to bring me music they want to learn themselves. And I remember very early on, about 1984, 85, this guy turns up and he had a Stevie Ray Vaughan track called Tin Pan Alley.
Yeah.
And he said, listen to this. And I listened to it and my jaw dropped to the floor. My jaw dropped to the floor. I can
totally see why.
Yes.
It's sublime.
Thought, good
playing
grief.
Everything.
Who is this person? You know? And so I always, I was always, but it didn't kind of, I listened to some of the other things that he was doing at that time, and I was into all sorts of things. And but Tin Pan Alley was the first one for me that really did it for him, from him. And then a bit later, probably 6 or 7 years, and probably just after he died, there was another track because at that time I just got married, I had kids, my time was taken up changing nappies and doing covers gigs. Yeah. So I didn't always.
You've got to pay the bills, right?
Exactly. I didn't actually have that much time to listen to new music.
Yeah.
And then one day, one of my other students said, listen to this, and it was another Stevie Ray Vaughan track called Scuttlebutting. And this was after Stevie Ray, just after, maybe 1991 or something, after the tragic, helicopter crash.
Yeah.
And I thought, good grief, and I'd heard Stevie Ray Vaughan, I hadn't heard that. I thought, heavens above, So this inspired me to really, really get stuck into what, and very, and it did really inspire me. So when I got my band together, I thought, well, I'm going to do some covers. I'm going to do some of these. I'm going to try and learn how to do. And I figured out that instead of playing with really light strings like all the previous players, that I'm getting a bit guitaristic here, but
it's all right. There's plenty of people
Stevie Ray, I didn't realise that he used a 13 gauge on the top and almost like a 60 on the bottom. I'm thinking, grief, he's using these heavy strings. How the hell does he do that? So I tried. Didn't really work for me, but I did. I did try to. I was so influenced by that, so I tried to do. And we did a few with the Stevie Ray covers on our first album, and so I was Texas blues was something I was very, very into.
Yeah.
I was also into Jimmy Vaughan as well, and the Fabulous Thunderbirds and all that stuff. But I've been into every sort of blues, be it country, be it acoustic, be it Chicago, be it Western, whatever, I've been into it all if it works for me. Just recently I discovered Sister Rosetta.
Oh yeah.
Just recently, I never realised about Sister Rosetta till maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
I know. Well, she was a pioneer, as you know, and a woman, in a time when the American civil rights and segregation and everything else. There's this woman with a
beautiful white SG.
Rocking it and just breaking all the walls down, wonderful. And Tim Haynes' current single is called Sister Rosetta.
Well, and I mean, we went to see. There's a theatre show going around about it at the moment with Beverly Knight in the lead role, which we went to see the other week, which was great. Yeah, very good it was. Anyway,
you mentioned earlier to me in the chat, and I noticed in your bio as well, just before you got your Robin Bibi band together, that you'd done a bit of work with the Pretty Things.
Oh yeah.
And of course that led to you working with some pretty famous people.
Happy Days.
Yeah.
Yes, that was.
So drop them, because we have the name drop bucket in front of every time we do one of these, and it's nearly always full by the end of the show.
Yeah. So I'm just going to recap what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So I mean, I met Dick Taylor in the late 70s, early 80s.
Now, for those who don't know,
Dick Taylor, yes,
just a bit of right. Dick Taylor was the original guitar player in the Rolling Stones.
Bass player.
I do this every week.
Fine.
I want to make sure people are watching so they know that they can correct my mistakes, and they always do. Bless you, Robin. Dick Taylor was the original bass player in the Rolling Stones. Didn't last too long.
No.
Went on to be a formative member of the Pretty Things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll let you carry on.
Well, yeah. Okay. So I met Dick. When I was working with a punk band, again, I do all kinds of things, So in the late 70s, I actually quite enjoyed some of the. I mean, a lot of my musician buddies looked down on punk, looked down their noses at it because it wasn't very good musically. It was really basic, but it had the energy.
Yes.
And I remember when I was a very young kid, when I watched the Beatles and all the six, all the Liverpool bands. I mean, my mum and dad used to say that's rubbish, or not my mum, but my dad used to. My mum actually quite liked it, but my dad used to say those guys, they can't play. They're not, you know. It's like it's rubbish and it's a noise, you know. And I realised that some of the people that I was working, musicians who were very accomplished, were saying this about the punks. You see, it's not music, it's a noise, and I'm thinking. And that made it attractive to me.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a bit of a rebel, you know.
Yeah, no.
So that made it attractive. So I started listening to some, and I thought, yeah, some of it isn't very good, but it's got this energy, you know. It's musically, yeah, not all that, you know. And one of my schoolmates who was not blessed with the greatest, not blessed with the greatest musical talent, let's put it that way, but very talented in many, many other ways, and who'd learned to play classical guitar. Started, and he'd always written his own quirky songs at school, and then after school, he used to. I mean, he was a friend of Rat Scabies or Chris Miller, Chris Miller, and
from the Damned, of course.
Yes, and he got a band. He got his own little band together, which was unfortunately called Auntie Puss, and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a couple of gigs, and I said, yeah, well, why not? You know, so we did a single at Pathway Studios. 2 songs that he'd written himself, one called Halfway to Venezuela and the other one called Paint My Brains with Toast because I'm a marmalade freak. So from that, you can gather what this is. Yeah, it's kind of like Syd Barrett quirky, very English quirky.
Absolutely, yeah.
But punk, it's sort of gone punk, you know.
Yeah.
And he used to drink in a pub in Wimbledon Village. Dick Taylor was living up that way. So it sounds a bit posh, Wimbledon Village, but he wasn't in the least bit posh. Dick Taylor was living in that area, and they got to know each other, and one thing led to another. So Dick Taylor used to come and play with this band, and then when Dick Taylor and me played together, we realised that we had quite a lot of things in common. Dick liked my playing, and I was in awe of him because he was a legend. So I used to go to a regular Monday night session that the Pretty Things used to do in Maida Vale called the Bridge House. It's a place called the Bridge House. And it was an invited guest jam session. So I used to be an invited guest. I used to get up and play with the Pretty Things and whoever else their guests were. Actually, the first time I played, one of the guests was Ian Stewart from the Rolling Stones.
Oh, wonderful.
Who very sadly passed away about 2 weeks after that.
Oh, dear.
Because he died suddenly, he had a heart attack and passed away.
Yeah.
And... so I did that, and then the Pretty Things were doing. They had some work in Ibiza. Their regular guitar player wife was expecting a baby, so they asked me if I could fill in for him. So
Wonderful.
I said, well, I'll talk to my people, you know. Yeah, my people say yes, you know. So
yes.
Off we went to Ibiza, and we did. We played in a residency in a nightclub in Ibiza, and we had all sorts of people come and guest with us and actually play sets with us. So the first 2 people who played were Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, and they played sets with us, although the sets we didn't really rehearse anything, so it was just jamming on the blues and jamming on rock and roll. Chuck Berry, you know, Little Richard, rock and roll classics and blues classics.
Sure. And
that was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. How close did you get to either of them in any particular way, or was it literally I'm just standing?
No, I got with Jimmy Page. I stood on stage with him like I'm sitting here with you, and we jammed, and he was very, he was lovely, you know, because he was listening. Everybody got to play a bit, and as soon as he heard me play, he was like, "Come on, do some more. Come on, do some." He was saying, "Yeah, go on, do some more." And I'm like, "Wow, Jimmy Page is telling me to play some more.
Yeah,
this is all right, isn't it?" So happy days, you know.
Well, that's validation of the highest order.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the thing is, you can carry that around with you till your final days.
Well, yeah, that's
knowing
right,
that somebody as influential as that, has encouraged you and complimented you in that way, genuinely too.
Yes,
because you were there with him, you know.
And Jimmy was really nice, and he let me play his guitar. He had a Fender Telecaster with a B-bender, which is a thing that Clarence White from the Byrds had invented. This thing where you pull it's a little the B string is connected to your strap nut, so that when you pull the strap nut down, it tightens the B string and makes the sound go up, and it emulates the sound of a pedal steel guitar. And Clarence White from the Byrds, the guitar player, he invented this device, and he gave one to Jimmy Page, because obviously Jimmy Page was a pedal steel player as well. You know, he used to play a lot of pedal steel on the old Zeppelin tracks. You know, And but yeah, so Jimmy used this, and he let me have a go on it, which was very nice of him. And he was nice, really a charming fella.
And the other fella you mentioned, Robert Plant.
Yeah,
I mean, how did you find him?
I didn't have quite as much interaction with Robert, I have to say, simply because I was so shy and meek and mild. But at the end of we did a few nights together, and at the end of it, he came up to me and said, "Listen, mate, you played a blinder." And he looked at me and he said, "You played an absolute blinder." And I was like, "Oh."
Wonderful.
I was overcome.
I mean, you know,
and he was lovely. He was really charming.
I think the thing is, you see,
a really nice man who wanted
you judge people how they are to you. Right? You hear stories about people, you read stories about
very
people.
Very encouraging man.
Yeah,
lovely.
But then when they interact with you,
inclusive. He was inclusive.
Yeah.
That's the posh word now that everyone says.
That's it. Yeah. And I was going to say they have nothing left to prove, right?
No.
Only to themselves, if necessary.
Yeah.
So to be charitable in that way, but genuine.
Yeah. He was.
It is a wonderful feeling to be involved in that.
Yeah.
Moving on again, because of time constraints, we have to rush through these things. I do apologise.
Yeah.
So you've kicked off the Robin Bibi Band. Your first album came out, what, 98?
97. Blue Thrash Therapy.
Yeah.
Mainly a covers album. I wrote about 3-4 songs on that album. And there were 15 tracks.
Great.
So there was a few Stevie Ray Vaughan covers. It was all the stuff I'd always wanted to play. A couple of Hendrix covers. I mean, the other thing I have to say, of course, is when I actually started playing the guitar, my big hero was Jimmy. As I've got the poster on the wall back there. There he is, the boss.
He's looking down on us.
The boss.
Yes.
And still is the boss. From the point of view of creativity and thinking out of the box and all that stuff, you know. I mean, Hendrix was extraordinary. And then, you know, again, it's Hank Marvin, the Beatles in songwriting, the Stones in attitude, and Hendrix in being just so out there and such a fabulous,
groundbreaker,
but such a
in
fabulous,
so many ways.
But such a fabulous blues player.
Yeah, absolutely, and a great acoustic guitar player too.
Totally so.
Talked about.
Totally so.
In an average year, over the 30 years you've had the band, pretty much, how many gigs are you probably, would you say, doing a year? 100?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, because I still do occasional. I mean, I still do quite a bit of session work, you know. So personally, I think the Robin Bibi Band is probably 100 to 150 gigs a year, maybe. Let's say. Let's hope so. I mean, because I do it as the basic thing is the trio, the power trio. But recently, in the last 5 years, we've been doing a 6-piece, like your good self, Paul.
Well, I was going to bring that up because I've heard nothing but great reports. In fact, I briefly had a radio show some years ago where I played Robin's track. For No More Secrets. I think I played the title track.
Okay.
Which featured the horns. Great track.
Yes.
Loved it.
Thank you.
I love that driving horn thing.
Thank you.
What was the idea behind that then?
Well, you know, the other thing is that, again, when I discovered the blues, I then discovered soul. I became a sort of slightly mature soul boy, if you like, you know. So I discovered all that Wilson Pickett, James Brown, Otis Redding, and that big fat horn sound. And I thought, and when I heard Albert King with the Memphis horns, I thought, this is what I want, a bit of this.
A great combination. I know exactly
so
what
I
you
thought,
mean with that wonderful
this
voice
is what I want.
Front, you know.
So we have done an album now, you know, it's a live album, and we've done some really fantastic horn. I'm very proud of the horn arrangements. Very much in debt to a guy called Jack Birchwood, who's the trumpet player and on No More Secret. And Jack's a really good arranger. Yeah. So we've arranged 27 songs. You know.
Fantastic.
So we've got our album now, Blowing a Storm.
Great.
Which is a live album, but it's
progressing.
Digitally recorded. So
you're progressing all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been aware of that. You know. It's easy to pigeonhole people, and you can't do that specifically with you, Robin, because your history tells it differently.
Yes,
you know, which is a great thing, my friend. It's a great thing, and you know, I haven't sadly had a chance yet to watch you with the horns live. I've heard you, but I've not seen you live. Yeah. I have got people who have told me how wonderful it is. In fact, so much so that I did have an idea. I said, look, we should do some shows where I come on in the second half, sing with the horn section.
Why not?
You know, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I think that'd be a great show.
Like
that was just that was thinking that on the way up here. I think that would be a great show. You know, because I did something similar to that in France. It was a double header with a guitar player called Tom Principato.
I thought you were going to say what was the young guy?
Oh, Charlie Faber.
Yeah,
Charlie, wonderful.
Yeah,
we did some great work together.
Well, I love Charlie.
One of my last tours in America under my own name. in France was with a guy called Tom Principato, which is a similar thing. We didn't have horns, but it was a similar thing. It was a shared bill, and we were on and off with each other, you know, and it was great, you know. And that, so I love working with different people, you know, and just different dynamics, you know.
Cool.
But I'm just putting that out. That's not a sort of.
It's a plan. Watch this space, folks.
Exactly. Watch this space. I'm rushing along here. You've got the new album out. Doing well.
Yes,
on the gigs and stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
airplay.
The album got plenty of airplay when it first came out. It sort of disappeared a little bit now, but it got plenty of airplay when it first came out.
Brilliant.
So that's happy.
Deservedly so.
And yeah, and I mean, what I was going to say also is that as well as doing, you see, because we are versatile, so you know the basic unit is the three-piece. We augment it with the horns when we can.
Sure.
But also we do smaller gigs, acoustic gigs. I mean, I do duos with harmonica players.
Yes, I know you do.
And also with Tony, my bass player, who's also a good guitarist as well. And I do solo gigs. In fact, my next gig coming up is a solo gig. But I play all my own stuff.
Yeah.
I use a stomp box, so I keep that. So I do the John Lee Hooker thing with.
Sure, man. Yeah.
But I don't just do. I mean, I do blues, but I do all kinds of things. You know, my own stuff, and I occasionally use a loop pedal too.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
Ooh.
So this is where Ed Sheeran got the idea from. Anyway,
happy days. Yeah.
As we're approaching the end of another edition of Unsung Heroes, I want to do something with Robin, which. We discussed earlier, very briefly. We're going to do a little song together for you lovely people to prove what a wonderful acoustic guitar player he is. And we said we'd do a little wing.
Yeah,
so do you want to grab a guitar?
See that one there?
Yeah.
Let's do that one.
Okay.
I won't have to get it out of the case.
That's fine.
It's I think it's roughly in tune.
That's fine.
And let me just see. This was given to me, this guitar. It's an Encore. It was given to me, I believe, by... I don't know how. You know, I've got a lot of guitars in this room. I'm one of those.
Yes, I was going to say you've got more guitars than I've ever seen. There's more in here than there is in the shop.
You can never have too many guitars.
No, this is very true. I don't know a guitar player that doesn't have.
There are 25 actually.
25 guitars.
Some on show, some not on show. But anyway, so this might have been donated. One of those on the wall was donated.
While Robin's tuning up, let me just tell you, people, please subscribe to the channel. It's Paul Cox, and on YouTube.
Let me swing around a bit.
Robin's tracks from his playlist will be added in the description later on, and connections to his website, so you can find out where he's playing and listen to the albums, listen to his choices of music. So you don't just get us chatting; you get a chance to delve into the life of Robin Bibi. As much as possible, and thoroughly deserved too. So I'm going to say one more thing on every show. I'm doing this because I don't do many gigs these days, and I've got a big one coming up. 4th of July at the Crier Arts Centre in Carshalton. Paul Cox and Soul Intention, full 7-piece band playing classic soul and original stuff, and some rare things as well. Please come to the show. Crier Arts Centre, Carshalton. Go on the website, buy the tickets. It's going to be a great night. Most of the music's from America, and it's Independence Day, so never mind who's in charge. Just think about the history of the music. That's what's more important. That's
I was going to say, get your tickets for that.
Talking of which,
can I also?
Please.
I have one big band gig coming up soon as well.
Wonderful.
At Church Crookham Memorial Hall, which is Monica Madgwick's new place.
I saw that. I saw that. Yes.
And that's on June the 20th. So
wonderful.
It's even sooner than yours.
Yeah.
And we come along, you know.
I might come to that.
Yeah, come along.
I think I might come to that.
Come along and come up and sing a song.
I'd love to. If you've got the horns on board, it'd be smashing.
Yeah?
I'd love to. June the 20th, yeah? Okay.
Friday night.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm off Friday.
What more do you want to do? You know,
what else are you going to do? Let's get some great live music. Come down and support it, people.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm going to say goodbye now. And Robin, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful chat.
Mate. Well,
and
that's flown by
please,
quickly.
as I say, please subscribe, and we'll leave you with this. And we'll see you next time on the next Unsung Heroes. God bless you.
Right.
Well, she's walking through the crowd. The circus mind, oh, that's running wild. Butterflies and zebras, moonbeams, and a fairy tale. That's all she ever thinks about, laughing with the wind. Yeah, when I'm sad, you know she comes to me. Oh, with 1,000 smiles, you gotta know the woman gonna set me free. She said it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright. You can do anything that you want. Oh, you can do anything. Tell you when I'm sad, you know she come to me. Oh, she got 1,000 smiles. I gotta tell you that the woman gonna set me free. She said it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright. You can do anything you want to me. Oh, you can do anything, yeah. Don't you know you're my little way? Mr. Robert Bibi. God bless you, my man. Take care, everybody.
You too, mate. You too.
God bless you.
Thank
you very much.
Happy days.